Okay. And I'll probably sit right here, so it looks like you're looking right at me.
Okay.
Perfect.
This is okay.
Okay.
Should I change my sweatshirt?
You can do whatever
Covered
you
with
like.
paint?
I have it so I can't see any. It's
Okay.
from the ECAC above.
Okay, then I'm gonna take this one because it says paint on it. Okay. Yes, I did. I DJ'd the ECAC. I think so. Alright. That's okay.
So what is it you do for a living?
Is this on?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's on, okay. So for a living, what do? I am an MC. I am a race announcer. So I DJ road races, weddings, parties, whatever. So used to work in clubs, nightclubs. I also, do you mind like really the whole story?
Sure. I'm up for that. I really appreciated you actually bringing up the speech therapy because I went through the same thing.
Oh, okay.
I would talk, but I would have trouble remembering words that sounded the same and writing and everything. So I was in that until probably fourth grade, and being pulled out of classes, stuff like that. Being brought to like a classroom of 4 who were like similar to me, and so yeah, you can go into start from that beginning and work your way up.
Because I'm just trying to think. Because like when you ask, it's like what I do for a living. I may do a lot because I do so all this furniture. So the whole house, like I do all this kind of work. Like I put in the floors, the cabinets, the windows, the doors. I built the furniture. I find trashy stuff, 1940s dental cabinet that was thrown out that I redo. So I do, like I fix things. Like I see broken things and then I fix them and I repurpose them. So that's another thing that I do, the remodeling stuff that I do. Maybe it kind of all fits. And trying to think what else. So yeah, that's like kind of, that's what I do.
That's perfect.
Yeah, okay. Ask me something else.
So, what do you remember the instance where you first wanted to be the MC at a race?
No, to be honest with you, not at all. It really all sort of happened by accident. I went to school originally for physical therapy. I went to the University of Vermont. I wasn't really crazy about it. I switched my major over to health education and a concentration in athletic training. When I got out of school, I got a job as the aquatics director at CCRI, and that was, good until I qualified for the Hawaii Ironman, and long story short, my boss wasn't going to let me go, and I was like, oh, forget this, I'm going anyway. So when I got back, it was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And at the time, the guy that I was dating was a DJ, and he said, oh, why don't you just try this? Definitely out of my comfort zone. I love moving, I love dancing, I love music. So it ended up becoming something that became a great job for the two of us, now my husband. And we have had a DJ business for over 30 years, but we were doing nightclubs and working at weddings and parties and doing that type of stuff. And then after I had gotten out of the nightclub scene due to certain health issues with my son, it ended up being where we were asked to volunteer to DJ a race. It was the first Bobby Doyle race. So we did the sound for that, and then from there somebody else asked us to do a race, and somebody else, and now we're up to about 70 races a year. And prior to that, I never talked on the microphone. Like as a DJ, I just, I was the one like, believe it or not, that's what I was doing. Just party. And then now it's just something that kind of blossomed. The thing that made it different for us as DJs, for Skip and I, is that both of us have a strong athletic background. Skip was an outstanding high school basketball player, played played for Coach K at Army. Well, he didn't go to Duke. He went when Coach K, before Coach K was Coach K, as he puts it. He so he played, but then he started doing triathlons. I was like a 3-time All-Stater in volleyball, basketball 2 times in high school, played field hockey, went to school for the PT at UVM. I captained the volleyball team there, so I played Division I volleyball. And then when I got out, I started running, and that's where my husband and I actually, we knew each other from road races. He was pretty fast. He ran maybe like 5:20s, 5:30s. I was like 6:20s, 6:30s. I mean, I did well as a woman runner, but then I started doing triathlons, and that I did real well. Like my first race I won, my second race I won, my third race I won. I think my 4th race is when I qualified for Hawaii Ironman, and so I competed as a triathlete. Skip and I did that. Then I got into bike racing, have done well in that. So now with that background that we have, when we go to races, it's like, we get this. Like, this is what we have been doing our whole lives. So a lot of the runners that we see, what we call the old timers, they were the guys and gals that we would run with years and years ago. But the racing scene has changed a lot. Before, when you went to a race, like, people were there to race. Like, there were not walkers or anything. So it's different now. It's what I like about it. Like, at first I was kind of like, oh, this isn't the same. This isn't what it used to be. It's you know, people just coming out here. But the thing is, like, people who would never have run before are now running, and I love that. I love seeing how people they're coming here with a purpose other than winning races. I mean, there are still people who are there that they're looking for the best times that they can possibly run. They're looking for records. They're looking to beat everybody. But the part that makes me love every weekend that I go to work is the people who are coming there because of something else. Whether they're overcoming cancer, whether there's a loss in the family and they're in despair and they're trying to find themselves, whatever it is. I know that there's a lot of folks who just do it together because it's fun. It's a healthy, fun way of spending time together. And the other thing that I have found is that people who have had other struggles in their lives, because we look at it as this is a real positive sort of thing, but sometimes like I had a friend who started racing, who became a good triathlete, who had a real serious drug addiction, and he started training because he could feel better. He found that there was that same sort of, I don't know how to put it, that feeling that we're looking for. Like, as I think we're all looking to feel better, to feel good, to feel happy. So whether it's drugs or gambling or training, racing, it's the same thing. We have certain receptors in our brains that make us feel good. And when you take drugs, you drink alcohol, you gamble, you do these different things, go shopping, whatever it is, you feel better. And the training's the same way. I jokingly will often say, oh, I would be a heroin addict if I didn't work out. I have to do that. I actually am kind of grumpy and not nice to be around if I don't work out. So this morning, it's like I didn't have a lot of time to do anything, but we have a rowing machine upstairs, so hop on the rowing machine and put in a couple thousand meters just to do something, because then I'm a lot nicer to be with. Some people need their coffee, but I do that. So that's so the whole thing is I know this is a really long story, but that's how I got here. I got here really by total accident, and it's been good. It's been good for me. It's brought me to a place where now I don't stop talking, as you can tell. So I'll stop talking.
Well, that's perfectly fine. Maurice does the same. I have about an hour of footage with him, and I asked not many questions. But just like him, you bring up a lot of good information. So how do you feel this transformation of the running community has provided like a comfort zone for people who are going through struggles? Is it that people can just relate more now just because it's like kind of laid back that you're not there to compete, you're there to support?
I Well, I don't think it's so much that it's changed in that way. I'm trying to think of how to put this. Well, just with more people being out there, um, it's a safe place. It's a very safe place. The running community is, well, the thing is that when you start out training, and you have your own experiences, I'm sure, as when you start out, it's not easy. People go like, oh, it's so hard, it hurts. My knees hurt, this hurts, this what. So anybody who's out there on the starting line, they know what the feelings are, the struggles. So in a sense, it's like every single person towing the line has gone through a certain level of personal struggles as an athlete. Even the last ones walking. So there's this ability to relate. And it's interesting because just last night I was out to dinner with some friends, and there was someone new who I had never met, and his wife has run many, many, many races. And she's, as he put it, goes, she's very slow, but she just, like, as she's out in the middle of a marathon, if she comes up to somebody who's walking, she's like, hey, come on. And it happens all the time. When I was at the Hawaii Ironman, there was an older gentleman that I came up to, and he was really struggling, but we finished together. I mean, the two of us, because before I did Hawaii, I crashed on my bike 3 weeks prior to the race. I had cerebral hemorrhaging. I was in the hospital for a week. I had a broken clavicle, a torn rotator cuff, and a dislocated shoulder. So when I went to Hawaii, I had one arm to do the swim. And also I had never ridden my bike more than 60 miles, and now I was on this adventure of riding 112 miles. So needless to say, when I got to the marathon, I was pretty beat up. I had kicked the whole way in order to get there, and my shoulder was redislocated during the bike ride. So I was in this horrible place, but this older guy he got me to the finish line. And that's what people are experiencing when they do races. So even a brand new person in a 5K who's trying to lose 50 pounds, there's somebody else out there who's they're going to give them that smile, like, come on, keep going. And it's just, you might not get that in other places in life, but at races, it's always that way. There's always going to be someone, and I know for me, that's what I want every single person who crosses the finish line to feel like, wow, they're awesome. As far as my job is concerned, that's what I want to make sure I want to do. The people in the very front, they don't need to hear any commentary from me because they're good. They know they're good, But it's those people at the very end that I want to applaud for, persevering, for pushing through. And again, many of them are doing it not because they want to be a great runner, but because there's other underlying issues. And the running community really embraces that, because people feel, I don't know, I guess when you're out there and you're struggling, you can just open up more easily. I think it's a nice thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does it feel being that person that, everyone's hearing before the race while they're crossing the finish line? You being up there and just knowing that everyone who passes you has their own story and is there for different reasons, different points in their life.
It's sometimes it's so difficult because it's hard to know. How do I applaud somebody? Because some folks, I'll be like, wow, you had a really great time. That's wonderful. And then afterwards, they're like, no, that was like my worst time. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not necessarily sure what I should say, shouldn't say. I don't really know. Sometimes there is pressure. The most pressure is at the very beginning of a race, and have all these runners, especially the bigger races. There's a couple thousand runners, and the people who are really fast are all in the front, and they don't want to hear anything from me at all. They just want the race to go, and I get these looks, and I'm like, oh my god, you know. But yet then I want to say something to the new people who are starting this, especially for a half marathon or a marathon, because that is going to be a huge challenge for these people, and I want to be able to say something, but then I'm getting these looks, so it's trying to be able to communicate to others and ignore the people in the very front, but still acknowledging them. I don't know, sometimes that's the hardest part. Once people start coming in, oh my gosh, it's wonderful. I see somebody like who just starts to kind of pour it on, and you know they're turning themselves inside out. Oh, that makes my job very easy, because it pumps me up, and no matter how I feel, I could be sick and not feeling well that day, but I see someone who they're just like, oh, and they're gonna get it, you know, they're gonna get it no matter what, and yeah, that makes it easy. That's good.
That's definitely been me a couple of times. Sometimes you push yourself a little bit too hard in one section,
Yes.
or you don't drink at a hydrant, and you're like, oh, I feel good, and you're like a mile in, oh, I probably should have had that water back there, and oh goodness.
Yes, I've definitely seen it. And one of the things that has been difficult, and I have to be very careful, is that sometimes I'll be like, oh, come on, you can do this, you know, this is the time, you know, finish hard, and that person is really at their limit, and I've had it where I've done that, and then the person just throws up. It's like, and then I feel pretty guilty about that. But again, it's just, the more I do it, I think the better it is. I also have to pay very close attention to, because it is at the finish line, because the human body is capable of pushing through incredible things. I, for one, have done that. I've woken up several times in the hospital in triathlons. So I pay real close attention to watching the person's posture as they are finishing on those warmer, more humid days in half marathons and marathons. And people will push themselves beyond their limits, and it's usually right around near the finish line that somebody may collapse. So I need to be pretty careful about, you know, encouraging them too much and overdoing it. So I do what I can.
You do. And it's wonderful. So, as I've said, like, a lot of people do running and go to those races for different things. Some are trying to cope with different things that have happened in their lives. Some are more vocal about it than others. Some show it by what they wear at the races.
Yes.
Have you ever had, like, connections at a race where people are, like, promoting what they've gone through and shared why they're running?
Yes, I have, and I try, especially at the bigger races, where the half marathons and marathons, because those tend to bring in a lot of people from many different states, even countries, and they will have something on that well, the other thing too is that there are a couple of race directors that really put on wonderful races that help to different people raise money for different charities. And so as a result of that, you have many individuals who come with their, whatever organization that they're representing will have that sponsorship on there. And really thousands and thousands of dollars are being raised as a result of it. So it's a nice thing. So yeah, people are out running, you know, to have fun, but they're also running for a true cause, whether it's they have a family member or a friend who has cancer. My son has epilepsy. I know that there are epilepsy runs. There are, you know, all these different programs. The historical societies, there are some races that are there, and whatever it is, there's something.
So, to kind of close it out, um, are you happy doing emceeing at races? And what have you taken away from that experience?
What I have taken away from racing as a MC versus being an athlete, because being an athlete, when I went, my sole goal was to win. And now I have made so many amazing friends just from this, because what happens is that I'll have people will come up and say, that voice, I'm so happy when I hear your voice. And then I get to chat with somebody a little bit, and then they tell me why they run. And that is when I just go like, oh my gosh. Every single person has a story. I have had the opportunity to meet some individuals who have lost over 100 pounds. I have had the opportunity to interact with people who have had substance abuse problems. I have found people who were in abusive relationships. The stories are as different as each runner. It's just been wonderful. I love what I do. I'll do this until I'm gone. Because it just, every weekend, I'm not able to run anymore. The bike racing, I'll still do that, but doing the DJing, I will do this for as long as I possibly can. I love going to races on the weekends. I love seeing the people that I see. I love watching the progress that individuals are making. And I get home from a race and I feel good. I just feel good. I feel blessed. I feel thankful for everything I have. It also makes me feel that there's a lot of good people out there. There's a lot of really good people out there.
Yeah, that's what I'll say. That's what I've taken away from doing the running event is,
Yeah.
you know, you sometimes you lose faith in humanity, and then when you see that little 6 or 8-year-old kid who's waiting for their mother to go by and is willing to give high fives to everyone else, it's like, why wouldn't I not want to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, money, the races are kind of up there, but
Yeah.
if you can do it,
Right.
I mean, it's just a wonderful thing, and that's why I thought of you, and I want to thank you for everything you do, because every race I've ever done, you know, you're the voice. I don't see you because there's a crowd, but I'm like,
Yeah.
like that's the thing that's common and consistent with every race is there's this person that's motivating me and motivating everyone else. And for this project, I wanted to meet the person behind the microphone and just get your perspective on, you know, from where you stand or where you sit on the mic, how do you see the running community and people transform right in front of you and understand that everyone there is coming from a different place? So I wanted to thank you for taking time out of your day.
Sure. I really am interested. You know, the thing is that, because when I was in school, like after I graduated from college, I started in a master's program, but to go into drug and alcohol abuse. I have a brother who is an addict, who still is, you know, he's a junkie, he's out there somewhere. And growing up with him, he's my younger brother, and the struggles of the family. And I wanted to know how to be better at that. One of my good friends who was an addict, the one who became the triathlete, he actually ended up dying. He overdosed. So I mean, it's something that like it's scary. It's really scary. But I have to tell you that there are a number of guys that I know who had, I wouldn't say that they had real addiction problems, but they had some difficulties and with some abuse of whether it was drugs or alcohol, who have become outstanding athletes. And again, it's almost like that type of personality that you know you just you go and you go. But again, it's about being able to have those feelings of feeling good. I just always feel like if I can just get out and ride really hard, oh my God, the rest of the day is so wonderful, you know, or if I'm on the rowing machine. But it's got to be at that level where I almost feel like I'm going to throw up. Kind of need that. If you get there, then the rest of the day is pretty awesome, you know, so. But there's a definite connection. I really believe that is, especially if you get into the whole biochemistry of how the brain functions and the changes that the body goes through training, through pushing ourselves hard. It really is the exact same thing, whether you're taking cocaine or you're doing interval training. The response in the brain is almost identical.
Yeah, and that's how Maurice described it. Was he traded out one addiction for another.
Yes.
Like it wasn't about doing the drugs per se. It was about fulfilling that craving, and that's why he runs.
Exactly.
And
that's why I still will continue, because people are like, Maryann, why do you still ride your bike? I mean, I've had 21 surgeries. I mean, I've had a lot of serious crashes, and this is my first December in over 4 years where I haven't had 1 or 2 surgeries. But I will never stop. I will never stop, because I think I would be a person who would have an addiction problem, because I don't know how else I could feel like I do when I get off the rowing machine or my bicycle. So I'll just keep doing that.
I'm glad, because I'm gonna keep racing those road races. I want to keep hearing you.
You will.